Can I go back to asking you a question about your Bible?
It's this.
I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Before we get into this, the legal line matters. D4vd, real name David Anthony Burke, has pleaded not guilty. Russell Brand has also pleaded not guilty. So this video is not about declaring anyone guilty before trial. The real subject is bigger than either individual case. It's about fame, access, warning signs, and the way talent can make people ignore things they would notice immediately if the person was a nobody. The David case is horrifying because of the age of the victim and the severity of the charges. Prosecutors say Burke is charged with first-degree murder in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivers Hernandez, whose remains were found in the trunk of a Tesla registered to him.
Tonight, disturbing new details on how Celeste Rivas was killed before her dismembered body was found in the trunk of a Tesla belonging to singer David. CBS LA's Hunter Posen live in downtown LA with the autopsy report and what it means for the criminal case against the singer. Hunter?
Yeah, Pat, some of these details really are so tough to hear. So we want to be transparent with our viewers. We are choosing to leave out some of those details because they are simply too graphic. But we are getting our first insights into how the medical examiner says Celeste Rivas Hernandez was murdered. A newly released report gives chilling details into the state of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body when it was found in the trunk of singer David Burke's Tesla last fall. The medical examiner says she died of sharp force trauma, but the autopsy made difficult because her body was severely decomposed. Officials say she died in April of 2025 and wasn't found until September, roughly 5 months later.
He also faces charges connected to continuous use of a child under 14 and mutilation of human remains. Prosecutors have alleged that Celeste was after threatening to expose an illegal sexual relationship that could damage his music career. Burke's attorneys deny the allegations and say evidence will prove he did not cause her death. That last part is where the story becomes even darker, because if prosecutors are right, then this isn't only about violence, it's about image, career, reputation, the fear of losing everything. The idea that someone's public dream could become so important that another human being becomes disposable. And let's just stop right there because this case is so heartbreaking. Even talking about it just makes me feel very uncomfortable. You know, for the past few days, I've been thinking to myself, do I want to make a video about this? Is this really the right video for my platform? But then I figured because David is a black individual and I do tend to focus a lot on black individuals on my platform, whether they're comedians or you know, they work in news media. I do tend to cover that ground. So I figured, let me talk about this because it's heartbreaking stuff and it needs to be talked about. You know, David, I'm not a major fan of his music, but as someone who's created music in the past, I gotta say he was a talented individual. I remember watching a video of this guy and he talked about how he created his own vocal filters.
So the track, as in the bed, the beats, the other sounds, that's all sorted in your mind. Exactly. What you're trying to do is finesse the lyrics, but then finesse the vocal sound and then the backing vocals.
Right.
No, so that's what you're spending all that time doing.
Exactly.
Really interesting.
And another thing that boosted the kind of visibility for BandLab as like a whole with my like artistic direction for it was that there was already a bit of a community of BandLab on TikTok. Like everybody's promoting BandLab snippets and stuff like that. But the reason I was able to break through, I think, is because of how professional my quality sounded. And that's because I was using earbuds just like everybody else, but my presets the plugins and vocal chains that I had were so far ahead of everyone because I was actually like taking time to practice them. So I would notice,
and these are all built into BandLab.
They are, but you can create your own, and you can mess with your own EQ, own compressors, and all that stuff. So when I was looking at other artists that were in the same space in BandLab, they would use the pre-made BandLab filters. Like there's one ambient rock and stuff like that. Everybody would use the pre-made BandLab ones, and nobody would take the time to make their own. So what I did was, before even starting a song, I'd listen to the track, I listened to how it sounded, I listened if it was like much more high end than low end or mid EQ, and I would make a preset for every song. So I have thousands and thousands. I should low-key sell these, low-key. Like
a lot of the vocals were done on his phone, which is just amazing to me. So he's a very, very talented individual, you know, making his own little filters to really accentuate his voice and doing all of these crazy little tricks to make his music sound fantastic. So for such a talented individual to do something as violent and disgusting as this, allegedly, even though there does seem to be a lot of evidence against him, we have to be careful. It blows my mind. It really blows my mind. And the fact that her body was in the boot of his car, I believe it was a Tesla. I mean, how do you get out of a situation like that? How can you argue that you had nothing to do with that? I'm flabbergasted. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I don't know what the prosecution is going to argue. I don't really feel like they have a case. I'm pretty sure they realize that he's going to prison. Right now, what the prosecution is trying to do, they're trying to get him off the death penalty. Now, if I remember correctly, I believe, I'm not sure where the case is taking place, but I'm pretty sure the death penalty does not even exist in the city or state where he's staying at. I've seen people say he's going to do 1 or 2 years. I don't even believe that's going to happen. She was 13 years old. Someone needs to go down for this. And all the evidence points to David. And then of course you got all the material on his phone, all of these disgusting foul things. Come on, it's over for David. And what makes it even more disturbing is that people online are now saying the warning signs were already there. Wired reported that David's young fan base helped make him famous, and after he was charged, some fans began saying clues about Celeste were sitting inside the Discord community all along. That's chilling, because it suggests the internet may have seen more than it understood at the time. And yeah, a few days ago, I actually saw a live stream where Celeste inadvertently kind of exposed David.
Yo, wait! Pray for his career chat. Are we done? Are we?
We need to delete this.
Are we? Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too? Can we delete everything? You done for, bro? Y'all are not done? Now you gonna have to. Yo, wait.
Oh, look it. Answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which
that.
one? It was good to have a big family spot. Bro, thank you, Mitochondria. Appreciate you.
I gotta sound with him if you even.
I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
She insinuated that David was in a relationship with her, and this was a live stream, like a Twitch live stream or something. So everyone knew. All his fans knew. Everyone knew about what was going on. Now, of course, some people are saying, you know, the fans should have spoke up. They should have called the police. But when you think about it, David's fans were really young. The fact that he had a younger girlfriend should tell you something. Young people really, really looked up to him, for sure. So yeah, it's a bit of a complex issue, because even I'm wondering why it took so long for this information to come out. Why didn't the fans do anything? But when you take into consideration the age of his fans, the age of his demographic, it starts adding up, it starts making sense. Fans are now looking back through live streams, Discord posts, comments, timelines, and old interactions asking the same question. Did people already know this was wrong or simply not care enough? That is one of the ugliest parts of celebrity culture. Fans do not always ignore warning signs because they are evil. Sometimes they ignore them because the person is talented. Sometimes because the music helped them. Sometimes because fan community has already built an emotional world around the artist. And once people have invested emotionally, they resist anything that threatens the fantasy.
Hey everyone, my name is Cassidy Clark. I was in the Here With Me music video when I was 18 years old, and I'm gonna talk about it. I submitted for the job via casting networks and I got casted. It was a 12-hour shoot, very low pay, non-union job. I met David's whole family. His whole family was there because he was a minor at the time. I was 18, he was 17, and when you're a minor working on set, you have to have your guardian, one guardian present, but his whole family was there. I met his younger sister, who is probably now around the same age as Celeste would be, and he has a younger brother as well. During the shoot, I played his girlfriend, and that was that. We followed each other on Instagram just for the sake of, oh, you shot with me for 12 hours. We might as well follow each other on Instagram. We honestly didn't really get along that well. I would say I'm pretty outgoing, and we just really didn't click. If anything, I felt like I was kind of bickering with him. But that's besides the point. The reason why I'm making this video is because I've gotten quite a few messages of people asking me if I have anything to do with this, if I know what's going on, and I just wanted to put an end to it. I do not associate with David by any means. I'm an actor. I literally have nothing to do with him. I did it for a job. I did it for a check. I didn't know who David was. I don't follow him on Instagram anymore. I'm going to remove him as a follower. And I think that he deserves even more than what's happening to him right now. He's a monster, and I do not associate with him by any means.
And like I said, he was a very talented individual, very charismatic, clearly had a lot of skills. Like the fact that he was so young when he dropped his first major record that, went viral, went, bloody platinum, hit the Billboard charts. I believe it was Romantic Homicide. That was his first major record. It's in the name. The irony is crazy. And that's another thing about David. I mean, his imagery, his lyricism, the sonics, his sound was so dark, was so gritty. His mind was completely enthralled by that world, by that dark imagery. He loved that style. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying that style. From time to time, I might listen to the odd emo song, you know what I mean? But when your mind is completely, drowning in that sound day in, day out, and you're not taking any time away from that sound, from that mood, from that kind of vibe, if all you're doing is surrendering to darkness, naturally it's gonna have a major effect on you. And the fact that if you actually look at his videos, man, some of the videos are so, violent and gruesome. And I believe in one video, someone might be getting kidnapped and they have like a bandage around their face so they can't see, and someone's been chucked into the boot of a car. It's just the whole idea of life imitating art imitating life, this weird cyclical process. A lot of artists kind of get trapped in that. That's why it's very important that once you make your music, once you make your film, once you do anything creative, you got to take a break, especially when that piece of art you've created is very dark and depressing. You've got to kind of walk away and kind of find yourself again. Art can sometimes take a major toll. Now, some people may argue that David was always this guy. Perhaps he was always this violent, depressing, angry person, allegedly, but I guess we'll never know. There's also been speculation online about David's upbringing, including claims that his father was a pastor and that he may have felt extreme pressure to succeed.
This may explain a few things about David's family life with Dad. But first, note the release date.
God will not change. The blood still works. The blood still works, and the gospel is still in order. The gospel, I said the gospel is still in order. So take your popcorn messages, take your new ideas, take your amateur nights at the Apollo services, take them with you, because to hell you will go.
As a theory people are discussing, it reveals what many are trying to understand. They are trying to make sense of how someone so young, talented, and successful could be accused of something so monstrous. People reach for pressure, religion, family expectations, fear, shame, the terror of losing status. None of that excuses anything. It only shows how people try to explain a story that feels almost impossible to process. And yeah, I mean, I've seen the videos online of his father preaching, and it's you know, you can't help but wonder, how did this happen? How did this happen? You know, you come from a good Christian household. Even if you're not a fan of religion, pretty much all religions try to instill a sense of being a good human being. It's good to be an honest, decent person. You know, respect your neighbor, love your parents, do the right thing. So for David to turn out like this, even though his father is a pastor, even though he, you know, I believe he kind of had like a middle to upper class upbringing. So he had a fairly comfortable life. He had a fairly comfortable life. Grew up in a Christian household, and yet at the same time this happened. It's crazy. Now some people may argue that it makes perfect sense that a son of a pastor would end up like this, because many people say children of pastors or priests tend to be really wild and crazy because they're seen as, like, you know, golden children, or, you know, the golden child. You know, they can do whatever they want, they can act out, nothing bad is gonna happen to them because they are literally the golden child. So I get that viewpoint as well. I do understand that viewpoint as well. Now the Russell Brand situation is slightly different, but it connects to the same wider problem. Brand was not a hidden creep in the public imagination. His entire celebrity image was built around being a wild, sexual, outrageous ladies' man. That was the act. The messy hair, the spiritual rambling, the endless stories about women, the rockstar comedian persona. Society did not merely tolerate that image, it rewarded it. And I can actually attest to this. I actually saw this. You know, I was much younger when Russell Brand was coming up, but I remember the wild hair, the crazy shenanigans, you know, he was on the front page of the tabloid newspapers, The Sun, The Mirror. He was making out with Kate Moss. He was making out with this celebrity, that model, this model. And the tabloid newspapers loved him for it. They rewarded him for it.
Yeah, we're both wearing it. This is the Rosemary.
Nice.
And this is the Candy Mini after Candy Darling.
Oh,
Yeah.
you look ever so nice, the pair of yous.
Thank you.
Why don't you kiss each other? Oh, come on, that's a joke.
I was ready. What kind of a show is this? I was ready.
Well, listen, we do kiss in private, but not for your enjoyment.
Yeah, not for you.
I wouldn't enjoy it. I think I'd probably be physically sick if I was doing it as an experiment.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's a joke, it's a joke.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Comedian, it's all just a joke.
This was back in the early 2000s, way before Me Too, way before Men Are Evil, way before the Andrew Tates of the world. You know, so men got away with a lot of things. And it does make you think. In many ways, society helped mold people like Russell Brand. Now, I'm not saying society created him, but in many ways, back then, back in the early 2000s, the 90s, society kind of molded these men into who they are. Now, of course, we all have choice. Just because the paparazzi are taking snapshots of you and giving you high fives does not mean you need to cater to that debauched side of you, that debauched side of man. You know, every man has that side to them. But At the end of the day, we're human beings, we're not animals. We should know how to curtail those desires and those impulses. And the fact that Russell Brand at 30 years old was deciding to engage with younger women is just insanity. Let's not even call them younger women. They were girls, essentially, young girls.
Honestly, I just reevaluated the whole thing and thought I need to be open-minded to having been wrong in my initial assessments, and I'm interested in a conversation about it all.
Thank you, Megan Kelly, for giving me the grace to address in particular your anger, which is entirely legitimate and recognizable. And the plain fact of it is that in Europe and in the United Kingdom, where I'm from, the age of consent is 16. And I did sleep with a 16-year-old when I was 30. But when I was 30, I was a very different person. I was a lot younger and I was an immature 30-year-old. Consensual sex, actually, with a variety of people, when there is a strong power differential, as there is when you're a famous man that has the ability to attract women that I had at that time, I think involves exploitation. I think it is exploitative.
That admission was odd, partly because of the timing. He's heading towards a serious court case, and it felt like he was preparing his audience for what might come out. It sounded like he was drawing a line in advance. Yes, I behaved badly. Yes, I was selfish. Yes, I exploited power, but I deny criminal allegations. Legally, that distinction matters. Morally, most people will still ask the same simple question. Why was a 30-year-old famous man sleeping with a 16-year-old in the first place? Brand is now facing 7 charges in the UK, including 3 counts of assault and 1 count of indecent assault involving 6 women and alleged incidents between 1999 and 2009. He denies the charges and is due to stand trial at Southwark Crown Court on October the 12th. And this is where the comparison becomes useful, without pretending the cases are the same. David allegedly had access through online youth culture, Discord, live streams, fan spaces, emotional music, and a young audience that felt close to him. Brand had access through old media, television, comedy clubs, radio, parties, celebrity status, and a public image built around sexual conquest. Both stories involve warning signs being absorbed into their image. With David, fans are now saying people knew or suspected something was wrong. With Russell Brand, the warning signs were almost part of the marketing. His sexual excess was sold as charm. His lack of boundaries was sold as comedy. That is the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes danger is not hidden. Sometimes it's branded. And society helps build the same men it later condemns.
Well, I'm in a real marriage, mate. And I suppose you are you? Mm. So what it's like being in a real marriage is like it's someone who actually knows me and who's known me for a very long time and knows, like, see, when even in the introduction, some people he's a silver-tongued devil and other people he's an arsehole. Well, yeah, but yes and. Yeah, silver-tongued devil, arsehole, but she knows me and she loves the reality of who I am.
A man becomes famous for being sexually reckless, then people are shocked when women later say they were hurt by that recklessness. A young artist becomes famous through an intense online fan base, then people are shocked when that same fan base says it saw signs of something disturbing long before the headlines. The key issue is not simply that power corrupts. That phrase is too easy. The sharper point is that power creates distance between behavior and consequences. A normal person behaving strangely around young girls would raise alarm quickly. A famous person gets extra room. Fans explain things away. Managers protect the business. Labels protect their investment. Friends protect the access. Online communities protect the fantasy. That fantasy is powerful. Fans do not want to believe the person who made their famous song may be dangerous. They do not want to believe the comedian who made them laugh may have harmed people. They do not want to believe they missed something. So they wait. They ask for context. They blame the media. They say the person is misunderstood. They say everyone is jealous. They say almost anything before admitting they looked away. The industry does this too, but in a colder way. Once a person becomes too risky, companies move fast. Rolling Stone reported that Interscope quietly dropped David and that UMG helped remove some collaborations from streaming platforms. Digital Music News also reported that label affiliations were scrubbed from streaming platforms. That is how the entertainment business works. It may tolerate rumors, whispers, and bad behavior for years, but when the brand becomes radioactive, everybody suddenly discovers principles.
Like, how long after did they start getting like tons of plays?
I think literally the next month. So I released these 2 songs in July. By August, it was, yeah.
It was like every label's called.
Every single one, yeah.
And how old are you at this point?
I think I was 17. Yeah, 17.
Okay, so you're 17. You're living in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
You're uploading you're Alvin and the Chipmunks, you're a streamer and a video game player, and you're like slowly, are you realizing yet like where you're like, whoa, I could take this music shit kind of far?
That was when the music started doing more numbers in the video.
Brand's case shows an older version of that same pattern. For years, mainstream entertainment benefited from the Russell Brand image. Then the accusations came, the investigations came, and Brand rebuilt himself as a religious anti-establishment commentator. To supporters, he's a flawed man who found God and is being attacked by the system. To critics, the faith-based reinvention looks convenient because it arrives alongside accountability. And of course, recently, Russell Brand appeared on Piers Morgan, and you could see him opening the Bible, looking through scriptures. I mean, it's a far cry from the man he used to be. It's a far cry from the man he used to be. You know, he was this, hedonistic guy. He was just obsessed with drugs and women. I'm not saying people can't change, but it does seem a bit odd that he's doing this now. Once all the allegations come in, that's when he decides to turn his life over and start embracing Christianity and God and all of that stuff. It's a bit odd to me. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. It is a bit odd. It is a bit strange. I can't lie. That does not prove guilt, but it does show how modern celebrity defense works. Old Brand was protected by fame, comedy, sex appeal, and industry tolerance. New Brand is protected by politics, religion, and audience distrust of mainstream institutions. Different shield, same function. David does not have that kind of protection anymore. The charges are too severe, the alleged victim is too young, and the details are too grim. Even fans who once built him up are now searching the archive and asking how nobody stopped this earlier. That is a very brutal thing to sit with. Fandom can turn quickly, but often it turns too late. By the time the public turns, someone has already been hurt.
He's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego, and the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself.
So the real question here is not why are celebrities evil? Most celebrities are not murderers or abusers. The real question is, why do famous men keep getting enough room to become dangerous before people step in? Fans see things, teams see things, friends hear things, platforms notice things, industry people hear rumors, communities whisper, but everyone waits before the person is talented, profitable, entertaining, charming, or useful. Then the headline arrives, and suddenly everyone says they always knew something was off. That's the pattern worth talking about. David and Russell Brand are not the same man. Their cases are not the same case, but they both expose the way fame can turn warning signs into personality traits. The awareness becomes mystique, the excess becomes charisma, the inappropriate behavior becomes part of the legend. The audience learns to laugh about these things, but behind closed doors, the victims may very well start piling up. Guys, this was a long one. This was a very, very long one. Hope you enjoyed this video. I guess we have to wait and see what happens in regards to David and Russell Brand. You know, yeah, let's just hope everyone gets justice. Let's hope Celeste gets justice. Let's hope, you know, the alleged victims of Russell Brand get their own justice, because at the end of the day, sexual assault it's a horrible thing, you know. Women shouldn't have to experience these things, and in the case of David, man, it's just David's team are essentially trying to argue that he had nothing to do with her unfortunate demise, you know. But I guess, you know, that remains to be seen, because there's so much evidence pointing at him. There's so much evidence that suggests he did the deed. And of course, now with the, you know, the material on his mobile phone and his laptop, all of these things, the prosecution is going to use these things against him. Yeah, I don't think he's getting off. At a minimum, he's doing 20 years. At a minimum, he's doing 20 years. So yeah, just very unfortunate, guys. Very, very unfortunate. But hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you later.